All right, Larry Krueger here at Levi's after training camp practice number 17 concludes with your instant reaction. Of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out, 2 locations, Emeryville and Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. All right, instant reaction from training camp practice number 17. It rained today here in Santa Clara, believe it or not, so you had a little water on the field at the beginning of the individual period. Brock Purdy was outstanding today. I mean, 16 of 19 for 16 of 19 with the one interception. It was a pick six, a great play by Drake Jackson who ran it back. But 16 of 19 for Brock. He was just throwing strikes all day. The best ball of the day, in my opinion, was a deep ball to Deebo Samuel. Deebo was really strong today. It was a flat-out dime, though, from Purdy to Deebo. I thought it was like kind of a deep cross to Deebo. Deebo runs that crossing route to near perfection. Purdy put it on the hands, and I thought that was the play of the day in practice. Now, Trey Lance was 4 of 7. Sam Darnold was 6 of 7. I thought Sam had 2 really good balls, though. Sam had a dime on a deep ball to Tay Martin that was just perfect. In fact, Tay might have been the biggest star of practice today outside of Drake, who had the pick six. Tay was all over the place. And then there was another ball that Sam threw that was also an incredible ball to Ronnie Bell on the sideline. And basically it could have been a sack, and then Darnold's kind of scurried out of it, kept the play alive, and then hit Bell on the far sideline on just a perfect dime, just an absolute dime to Ronnie Bell. So a couple really, really nice passes there from Sam Darnold. Deebo Samuel had a huge day today at practice. Deebo looks fantastic. He's in great shape. He's playing well. He must have caught 3 or 4 balls, might have even been more. He was fantastic throughout the day, catching a number of passes. Drake Jackson, as I said, had a highlight play with a pick six. Really athletic play. He tipped it. It was a pass that was thrown by Brock Purdy, and Jackson tipped it to himself and then ran it back down the right sideline, and all the defensive players went crazy. It was good to see Drake back at practice, by the way. He'd been battling a hamstring injury, but he had one of the big plays today for sure. The young linebacker, Tizimo from San Diego State, almost had a pick six on a ball that came from Sam Darnold, and he dropped it. And I felt bad for Tizimo because Tizimo's obviously on the bubble trying to make the roster. He's on the outside looking in. He needed that to jumpstart his efforts, but it didn't happen. He dropped the pick six. Jake Moody kicked a 42-yard field goal. That stood out today. Also, Anthony Miller was signed before practice, or at least appeared to, the reports that he signed before practice. Now, the 49ers also worked out Corey Coleman, the former Baylor star, who was drafted by Cleveland in 2016. Coleman's coming off a stint where he really tore up the USFL. He had 669 yards and 4 touchdowns in the USFL. Once upon a time, Corey Coleman was thought to be a really explosive slot receiver. And I just think between Anthony Miller from Memphis and them looking at Corey Coleman today, I think they're trying to find, answers if Danny Gray is not it, or if Ray McLeod is not it. Those are their deep ball guys. Those are their speed guys. Those are the guys that they would love to be, every receiver in a wide receiver core has to complement the rest of the receiving core. Deebo's a physical guy that's going across the middle, as is Jennings. Ayuk is really a star in the making. But what they lack is that tight, that slot guy who's just such a big play guy, can help out on special teams and can give you the vertical threat, run off the top of the defense, keep the defense honest in the deep third of the field. That was going to be Danny Gray. Now Gray's got a clavicle injury, and I don't know his status going forward. He's probably going to miss a month. Ray McLeod's dinged up. So the Niners want to make sure that they're keeping themselves, you got to have that complementary receiver that makes you honor the deep part of the field. I know a lot of people look at it as a secondary type thing and maybe not that important, but it actually is very important that they have that guy who can run the deep routes just to keep defensive backs honest. So Anthony Miller could be that guy. Today they worked out Corey Coleman. Coleman's 5'11". He played at Baylor, and he's talented and he's fast. So both those guys are talented, fast guys who were once upon a time really high picks. So we'll find out. It sounds like they're going with Anthony Miller, but who knows? Maybe they'll go with both of them going into this final preseason game with the Chargers. Jake Moody had a 42-yard field goal today. It was right down the middle. That was great to see. As far as other guys who flashed today, Javon Hargrave had a nice sack. Kalia Davis is practicing, and he made a nice play against the run, as did Eric Armstead. Armstead had a really nice play against the run late in practice. If there was an under-the-radar star of practice, it was probably Tay Martin. Tay Martin just makes play after play after play. He caught balls from all three quarterbacks today and just looked fantastic. I mean, Tay Martin has great ball skills. If the ball can be caught, Tay Martin's going to catch it. He looked terrific today. Talanoa Hufanga also had a dropped interception early in practice. As far as guys who didn't practice, there was no Robert Beal Jr., so that's kind of a bad sign. Beal badly needs to stay on the field to make this team. They need defensive ends in the worst way. And, man, they drafted that kid. He's got a ton of talent. He had a play the other day in practice where he went right by Trent Williams. He looked fantastic. Today he's not playing, and he's missed a lot of practice time along the way. So that's a little bit of a concern. There was no Kerry Hyder today. He didn't practice. Guys who had not been practicing that did practice today, Drake Jackson, Javon Kinlaw, Elijah Mitchell was back out at practice today, so that was good to see. And Mitchell's an interesting guy, too, because Mitchell obviously is Mitchell's a stalwart on this team. I mean, he's a back that Kyle Shanahan loves to use to finish games. And so it's important that he stays healthy. And this is a real challenge for Elijah Mitchell because he's a smaller-bodied guy who has kind of a big man's game. He likes to run between the tackles, and he's very effective running between the tackles. But when you run between the tackles and you're only 5'10", 200 pounds, you get nicked up. And when you get nicked up, you wind up missing time because of injuries. And that's kind of been the story of his career. So hopefully he can get back on the field and stay on the field for a consistent amount of time. As far as after practice, we talked to Steve Wilkes in the media room. Wilkes highlighted some guys who played well in the Denver game, and he threw out T.Y. McGill. You know, McGill has kind of changed his body. He's in really good shape. He looks strong. He looks quick. T.Y.'s playing at a really high level, as is Marlon Davidson. You know, both these guys have opportunities on this defensive front to not just make the team, but play regularly in the rotation. So Wilkes, shouted out both T.Y. and Marlon today. He also mentioned that Jalen Graham is playing really well at middle backer. He also highlighted Jair Brown and said that Jair Brown is looking nice. The Niners are playing Demo Lenore in the slot, and I asked Steve a little bit about Womack outside, and he likes the way Womack's playing outside. So the Niners' best three corners might be Womack and Mooney with Demo inside. And then Steve was asked, well, are you going to are you going to go with different nickel corners this year? And he said, hey, look, if I get a big-bodied tight end, I'm probably going to go with Isaiah Oliver against him. I'm probably not going to go with Demo Lenore. So the Niners may play matchup games a little bit at the slot corner this year. It's something to watch for. Maybe Demo Lenore against the smaller, faster slots. Maybe Isaiah Oliver against the bigger, more physical slots. You really have two kinds of slot receivers in the NFL right now. You have the big-bodied guy that's almost like a glorified tight end. Oliver's going to draw those assignments. And then you have the guys that are incredibly shifty, and their stop and start and their breaks and their route running are elite, and they're smaller-bodied guys. And I think you're going to see Demo Lenore against those guys. So there you go. There's your instant reaction from training camp practice number 17. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of The Krug Show. Thanks to all you guys for supporting The Krug Show on YouTube.